Okay.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. This is the 10th of the series of webinars organized by the project WinterMed, which is funded by ERDF, European Regional Development Fund, through the Interreg Mediterranean program. So the WinterMed project aim is to collect lessons learned and best practices from other ended and ongoing projects, with aim to support sustainable tourism in the Mediterranean island. I am Jasmine Andreaus from Confesercenti Toscana, and I'm here today with my colleague Massimiliano Gini, always from Confesercenti Toscana, who will take care of our webinar issues in case, just behind the scene. So thank you, Massimiliano. I give you some information about this webinar, which will last around 45 minutes, 1 hour, and it will be recorded, and you can find it together with our previous webinars on the project website and directly in the YouTube page in the coming days. So also, we strongly suggest you to write questions in our chat box. So write it down, and we will speak about your question in the Q&A session. So I hope that the Q&A session will be very lively. So please don't be shy, and you can really make a question to our experts and our guests today. Concerning the today topic, we are speaking about a toolkit today, which is improved by Alter Eco project, and it helps to enhance local sustainable development of tourism with alternative tourist strategies, particularly concerning the exceeding carrying capacity. And as from the title of this webinar today, we will also see as it is important to calculate the carrying capacity also in a post-COVID period. So the toolkit consists of a set of tools that have been developed and tested in the frame of 6 pilot areas involving public and private stakeholders. And the tools are a methodology, a web tool to calculate the tourist carrying capacity of a destination, and a tool called the Interregional Learning Portfolio. So today with us, there are a partner of Alter Eco project, Irini Barniaki, who represents the South Aegean region, and will present us. Hello, Irini, welcome. And Irini will present us the Interregional Learning Portfolio to share the best practices. And we have also another expert, Dario Bertocchi. Hello, Dario, welcome. Dario,
hello, everybody.
Hello. Dario comes from the University of Foscari in Venice, and he has been the developer of the carrying capacity tool. So I would like to leave firstly the floor to Dario Bertocchi, who will explain us this carrying capacity tool.
Okay, thank you very much, Jasmine, and thank you for the invitation on this conference. I will share my presentation about the carrying capacity. Do you see it now?
Yes, we see.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, so why it's important right now to speak about carrying capacity, even if in this period it's difficult to have the same amount of flows or tourist flows as before. Okay, so this is, I'm starting from my city. So, and this is maybe the icon of over-tourism around the world. So from Venice, from my city where I lived, where I'm working. So this was the situation before, no? There was the over-tourism situation. We have big crews, we have a lot of people, a really huge amount of tourists every day. all the year long. So we actually did not have so much seasonality for our destination, only a few months in the winter time. We had big events, Carnival, the Biennale of Art, the film festival. So Venice was one of the biggest example of over-tourism and over-capacities, overcrowding, and over blah, blah, blah about related to tourism. This is the recent situation, is a picture that I took only few weeks ago. It's pretty much the same spot. So you see the lions and the columns, and it's pretty empty during the week. We have another situation when everything, also the tourism flows, restarted. And a few weeks ago, we were thinking, okay, maybe some tourists will come or not. International, national tourists, we will have the same amount of tourists, we will have the same problems as before as a destination, and that was the situation. First of days that the museums of Venice were open, we have queues, we have crowded, we finish all the parking place in the island. So we had a different problem that is connected to overcapacity of the city. So we have the problem in terms of number of people that wanted to visit the museums. We had the problems that and a lot of people want to reach the destination by car and not using other means of transport as the train. But also in the trains we had some problems because we have a limited number of spaces, also connecting to the post-COVID situation. So we need to have distance, social distances. We need to behave in a different way as before. But in the same situation, so after 2-3 months that we didn't see any tourists around the city, we have pretty much the same problem before. So queues and overcrowding in different spots of the destinations. So we need to think about the carrying capacity in tourism and in the destinations, and maybe starting from a different starting point. So the starting point that we had before was too many visitors, too many tourist flows, day visitors, tourists, and overcrowding in different spots. Now we need to think of the same solutions maybe, but with different approaches. So the approach of a healthy reason, the safety reason, and the social distancing. So in general, carrying capacity, we can divide it into 3 main blocks and sectors. So it's the natural carrying capacity, then where we can calculate this sector using the density, the facility unit. We can calculate the pollution regarding tourists in the destination, and also we can monitor the natural ecosystem of the destination or the cultural sites or natural sites. Then we have the social carrying capacity. So it's much more connected to the perception of the users of the destination, and we will have different kind of users of the destination. So the tourists that reach the destination or the sites for visiting that, or other sector, so the host population that is represented by the residents or the workers that are working in the destination, and the stakeholders, so all the other users that has interest in the destination, in the site, in managing the destination and promoting it. And then we will have the third one related to the carrying capacity. It's the economic carrying capacity, and this was pretty much strong to see in those days during the quarantine, because we know from different studies, but I really realized that Venice as a city and as a destination is really a tourism monoculture. Maybe only the universities are another big sector of the city, but during the quarantine, schools were closed. Tourists couldn't come to visit, so the city were really dead, in trouble, because the managing of this place was thought only in tourism purpose. We have possible solutions of the carrying capacity and overcapacity problems. These are some lists. It's a list from the UNWTO that suggest and use this solution for a big survey around the world related of the over-tourism topic. In Venice and in different destinations with a big negative externalities of tourism, we will think in the last, let's say, solution. So limit the number of the visitors, stop the tourist promotion, limit the number of tourism established. In the last year, we heard a lot of limit the number of Airbnb in the city center, not only in Italy, but also in Europe and in other destinations. So this was the framework that we had before was our starting point of Alter Eco, and was the starting point of our project. But it's again for my research, for my group of research, it's again another starting point that it's the same point, that use the same points as before, but a different perspective. That is the post-COVID, the social distancing, and the health of visitors, and the health of the residents' population. So what we create during the project, we created a model that actually is a tool, and it's an open tool that maybe I can show you in few minutes. And it's we have 4 steps of this model. The first one is identify the tourism subsystem or destination, especially regarding tourism facility and services. So we need to have an overview about the situation of the facilities in terms of number of beds, number of hotels, number of Airbnb, number of restaurants, number of parking place, number of urban transportation, public and urban transportation, and also regarding the limits of the people that can visit a hotspot. So it could be an open air attractions as a square, that we have the square that I show you before in the picture, that is Summer Square in Venice, but other let's say key attraction of the destination. And then we need to understand who is going to use these services. Those facilities. So we need to classify the type of users. So we have tourists that come to the destination and at least for one night stay in the destination, and then these tourists could be different kind of users. The tourists that decided to stay in a hotel, or the tourists that decided to stay in a flat or an Airbnb situation, but also the day visitors. So people that are visiting the destination but coming back house or in another destination, not sleeping in the same place of the visits. And then we need to determine the level of usage of these users on those subsystems. So in this way, we carry some surveys to residents, to tourists, and to day visitors to ask them how many days you spend in the destination, how many times did you see the key attractions, did you came by car, so you're using a subsystem that is related to the car, so the parking, or you came by train. And so we need to understand their behavior to put some numbers on these models, numbers that are pretty much regarding the behavior of those users. And then we proceed to a quantitative analysis, because this is a model, a mathematical model, statistical model that we need to put down some numbers. So this is like the example that we had, and what we develop about the Alter Eco project. So for the tourism subsystem, we select the accommodation sector that is divided in hotel and extra hotel, that are for example, the hostels, the apartments, and everything that is connected to Airbnb or similar. And then we had the subsystem that is related to food and beverage categories, so the number of restaurants. And then we have the subsystem related to the mobility and transportation facility, so the capacity of public transportation, the number of parking. We had subsystem related to environmental issues and waste management, how many waste a tourist produce per year, and how many in total the destination can work with and deal with. And then we add, of course, the cultural sector, if we have a destination that is much more connected to the cultural activities, but also we can add other subsystems that are connected to other tourism subsystems, other tourism destination. For example, I can put the limit of a beach. If my destination is a seaside destination, and that beach is like a super popular, and we know for sure from service that all the tourists that decide to go there want to visit that beach. And then calculate the user and the utilization rate of these users. So how many Italian foreign tourists decide to stay in the destination for a minimum of 1 night. So it's connected to the subsystem of the accommodation, and also the others. We need to think about also the residents and the city users. So those subsystems are not only connected to tourist flows, but also to residents. Residents will use restaurants. Residents will use public transportation. Residents will use other facilities as parking and other subsystems. So we need to balance the use of the residents with the use of other users of these subsystems. And then for the tourist, the Airbnb tourist and the day visitor, we put an expenditure, because we wanted to also to understand the economical carrying capacity, so understand how much they spent during their holiday. And so we use this to calculate at the end how many tourists and per user this destination can allow to enter, or which is a sort of a limit, a sustainable limit of number of tourists per day, so daily tourists that are tourists or day visitors, that the facilities, the destination can attract and welcome. When we have these results, we compare these results, so it's a daily number with the reality. So with the reality, it's the real tourism flows from statistical data. How many visitors stayed in hotels? How many visitors stay in a hostel or in in a Airbnb, and how many day visitor came per day to the city, and then we have these results. So if the calculated numbers from our model is lower or higher of the real, we will have a red or a green spot to underline which is the problem. So this is the situation of Venice, and the problem is of course the day visitors. It's not the problem of tourists stay in the city center, but the problem is that the huge amount of day visitors and excursionists that came into the city every day. And so we have this, let's say, this limit comparing to the real situation. So it's like it's not the optical number, but like the kind of magic number that we can compare the real situation. And if we have if our results will be a green level, so it's sustainable, we will have something to do that is a soft measure. If we are close to the limits, we are on a yellow situation, and we will have other measures that are a little bit stronger. If we have the red situation, the red result, we need to work on it, and we will think about the solution that I showed you before regarding Venice, that was stop the tourist promotion, limit the number of daily visitors, and stuff like that. Those results are the input of what my colleague Irini will show. So the results in these stages, for example, so the green, the yellow, and the red, will be the kind of input to select which is the best solution that Irini will explain you inside the Alter Eco portfolio. This is the tool. If we have time, I will show you right now, or maybe later, what you prefer.
Maybe we can show it now, so it is nice to conclude with. And
Very
then
good.
we can come back later if it needs, if there's some questions about.
Okay, so let me share my other screen. Okay, so this is our website. Do you see it?
Mm-hmm, yes.
It's the website of our project. Down of the project description, project pilot, we have this with this button that is calculated tourist carrying capacity of destination, and it opens the same tools and that I showed you before. So here it's possible to download kind of a vademecum to how to use this tool. We have all the city that was connected to the to Alter Eco project. I will show you Venice, but also we have a possibility to have a blank and a blank model to put the data for every destination that want to use this model. So for Venice, it's really, so this is the results. We show the results of real tourism flows. In Venice daily, we have 14K of hotel tourists, 7K of B&B and tourists, and 58K of day visitors. So this is the total number of users per day on an average day before COVID situation in Venice. And this is there are the subsystems. So in terms of that, we need to have the limit of the subsystem, and this is the total number of bed places that we have in the hotels, for example. This is the total number of bed places in bed and breakfast, Airbnb, and similar. And so those are the physical limits, the facility unit that we have for the destination. So it's really the limits. And then we have the user range here. So it's for hotel tourist 0.75 to 1. So it's the user's rate that we calculated thanks of the surveys that we carry on the impact of those tourists to the food and beverage facilities. Of course, a tourist will stay at least one night, so it's quite likely they will eat out in a restaurant, for example. As we see the usage rate of daily visitors is really lower because they maybe they don't use a restaurant so to sit down and to eat for dinner, for example, because they are going back home. And this is customizable, so it's actually super easy to change the situation, and every change will change the results. Let's say so. Maybe the other subsystem that it's important to add, there is one that is a cultural side. So this is the limit of number of people, security limit of Summer Square in Venice. But we can add other subsystems, for example, that I told you before, a beach or a square, a station, a port, so a cruise ship port, for example. And then we set the expenditure level, also pretty easy to change, and we did it like that because in a destination group with euro like that, but could be, I don't know, another currency, so will be totally higher. And then we have the possibility to compute, see the situation, see which is the problem related to the model. So the problem for Venice, as we know, is day visitor, the total number of people by day, and then we activate the measures and problems. We have the alter eco measures that maybe Irini will explain you a little bit later, and we should, because we have this situation. So we had the red situation. We have as first the alter eco measures that are on the red list. Let's say if we had a different situation, everybody was like the results were green, we had maybe those suggestions before, and then we can select some destination problems. Is related to restaurants, is related to transportation, is related to pollution or over tourism or seasonality or med identity. And here we have different solution or best practice that we can suggest to the other partners. And here is the alter eco portfolio in total and in general. As I show you already, we can use the custom one and put from zero all the data by itself. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dario. It was really interesting, the tool, actually. There's a question we will go through afterwards. So now I leave the floor to Irini Barniaki. Hello, Irini. She's there. We cannot hear you, so maybe you have to turn on your micro.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I start sharing my screen. So, hello again. I'm Irini Barniaki, and I'm here to present you the Alter Eco Interregional Learning Portfolio, which implemented by the region of South Aegean, who was a partner at the Alter Eco project. So, let's start. So what is Alter Eco? I will start with an input about what was Alter Eco and the targets of Alter Eco, and then I will focus on the deliverable. So the Alter Eco title is Alternative Tourism Strategies in order to enhance the local sustainable development of tourism by promoting Mediterranean identity. The general project objective was to enhance a balance among tourism attraction as an economic source of growth and the conversation of the classical Mediterranean city model as an example of sustainability. Our target was to reduce the conversation of human activities in hotspot areas through the diversification of the offer, to reinforce Mediterranean Mediterranean identity of touristic destinations, and also to enhance the coordination between public and private stakeholders in order to create new business opportunities. About the concept note of Alter Eco, the concept note was areas of high tourism attraction like Venice, like Dubrovnik, like Rhodos, in coastal cities, which are reaching their current capacity limit, as Dario told you, with a direct impact not only on the urban environment, but on key elements that define the Mediterranean identity. We were 9 partners, 6 of them, you can see with bold letters, were implemented the pilot actions. There is not so much time to present you the pilot actions and the other deliverables, but you are free to see our official website. So I will focus on how we created the Alter Eco portfolio. First of all, at the deliverable 3.4.1, we designed innovate tourism strategies. The concept note behind was the creation of a pool of measures in order to have a further access and prioritize the measure against certain criteria. Beyond this objective, this deliverable provides an holistic methodology that can be used by non-Alter Eco partners. And the whole scientific supervision was created by the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, and the results came from the University of Foscari that Dario told you. How we collected all these measures? The measures have been collected by the Alter Eco partners. A short reference of the methodology became by an Alter Eco XS file that I will show you now. I don't know if you can see the Excel file.
No, actually we cannot.
Okay, let me try.
Maybe you have to scroll down.
Yes, I think now you can see it.
Okay, now yes.
So this is the Excel file that we asked all of the partners to complete. Each measure for one Excel. So each partner had to refer us the title of the best practices measure of sustainable tourism that took place at their territories, the context of implementation, the location, a detailed description of the practice, and also how sustainable is this practice and the evidence of success of each practice. After all, there were an assessment. We made living labs after the whole collection of the project that our stakeholders were called to prioritize at 3 categories: feasibility, applicability, and innovate character, these all measures. And there then became the Alter Eco database that you can see at the site that Dario already showed you, but let me try again to change the... So here, do you see at the screen the good practice Aegean cuisine?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, we can see it.
So this is a type of measure that is now available at our database. Aegean cuisine is a good practice from the South Aegean region. The context was local. And this is the form that someone can see the measures. All of these are available to the database where you can visit it. Do you see my PowerPoint now? No.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Now, yes.
Both the database and the regional learning portfolio are available on the internet. And now the background of our deliverable, which was deliverable 4.3, the alter ego tips. The concept note was to exchange ideas, experience, and know-how to other partners, to non-alter ego partners, especially. So during the whole process of alter ego, there were being organized 3 workshops in order to spread their knowledge gained by the pilot activities. The titles of the 3 thematic workshops was a promotion of meta identity, that organized by Dubrovnik City, enhancement of local entrepreneurship that organized by Anetel, and care capacity that organized by University of Venice. Each group presented practices on how to implement the proposed innovative strategies and the lessons that are learned from 3 workshops and that collected from the measures, the Excel file that I have already told you, are now available at the Interregional Learning Portfolio, backed by a database of good practices which are collected at Work Package 3. So what is the Interregional Learning Portfolio? We used the alter ego tips as a phrase in order to keep in mind easily. And the Interregional Learning Portfolio operates as an open online platform. It includes alternative best practices measures which offer transnational education and transfer good practices from the lessons learned during the whole process of the alter ego project. There are 38 notable measures available, and the user can reach among them by using type of measure, the problem it is addressed, and the types of student destination as a criteria. We provide a tool to decision makers in order to activate the decision makers who are active in tourism sector at local or regional level. And the whole target was to spread the knowledge. So the selection criteria is type of measure. The users can choose between installation of equipment, design implementation, diversification of the offer, decision-making tools, or other. But let me share you again the website. So here we are. Do you see the website?
Yes, we can.
All right, thank you. So this is the Interregional Learning Portfolio. And here, for example, we can choose and search by diversification of the offer. The problem that addressed is seasonality. And search like a coastal tourism, if I search for my city, for Rhodos. And the results is guided tours. So this was my presentation. I hope I was clear.
Yes, very clear. Thank you.
I'm here for any clarification you may need.
Okay, thank you. I thank you both for your presentation and of these tools, which I find very interesting and useful also, each for their own way direction. So I just would like to start with the Q&A session now. We have questions from Christina Berzic. The question is mainly to address to maybe it is addressed to Dario. Do you know if the local governments are using this tool for planning of tourism activities and creating new tourist politics?
Thank you, Christina, for the questions. It's really interesting and it's punctual. Yes and no. I mean, Venice local government has started from a step behind. So they use this this tool, these results, and they are trying to developing a smart control room. So it's a mix of big data. So it's related to telco, for example. So for smartphone, big data from cameras, and so they want to monitoring the current situation. So to have a number that say how many people. Not divided, of course, in how many users profiles. So we will not know about if that person was a tourist or a day visitor, but just to count them. And this is actually what we try to do with this model using statistical data. So if we have our model like that, and the possibility to control in real time the tourist flows or the total number of people in the destination, we can understand how many times we exceed the limits of our model in a month, for example, and also when in the morning or late in the evening. So they are not using it for starting planning, but just for monitoring. So those tools is in the very first step. So it's only monitoring tool. And I hope that they can use this information also to promote different areas of the city, for example, promote different attractions that are not congestionated like maybe the square. There was connected another questions about how much money tourists spend in Venice per day. So we carried 2-3 different surveys to tourists here in the destination in the key area of Venice. So the main gates, so the gates for the bus, the gates for the boats, and the gate for the big cruise and trains, and also some spots, some attractions in Venice, and we asked them how much. So a tourist that trying to spend a night in Venice, it's an average of 220 euro per day, and then it's like only 60. A range from 60 to 80 for day visitors that don't sleep in Venice and stay in Venice only one day. This is mainly due of the high price of the boats, so the public boats that we have for the public transportation.
Okay, thank you, Dario. Thank you for respond to both question of Christina, and I have also a question for you. Speaking about the carrying capacity, you mentioned the operative steps. How difficult was to find data for was it difficult or not? Because maybe it depends on also for the, in order to have results, which is the main appropriate to recover the situation.
Well, I'm working with data from a lot of years, and I can tell you that it's always difficult to get reliable data, so important data to what we need for our research and our developing tools. In this situation, this project, we try to connect and to mix different data sources. So for example, what I show you, like regarding the accommodation system or the parking system, was open data, and so was pretty easy to find it. And other data was asked directly to the police. For example, the safety, for the safety reasons, how many people can stay in a square, in that square, for example. The other, we try to also use other data source, for example, from the web. So we try to scrape the web, so with web scraping procedures, and we collect it by ourselves from the web. But the most important thing is like to try to connect and to have a really network of stakeholders that will be easier to ask for data, and not easy to find by ourselves, like some Excels that there are a lot of data, but maybe not the same one. And then of course we need to use surveys to have also qualitative data and regarding the behavior of the users. So it was a mixed method. The most important thing is collaboration with stakeholders.
Okay, thank you.
Wasn't so easy.
And the tool is so the tool is open, and if some territories can be interested in using it, it can go through the tool and use it as you showed before.
Exactly. We try to put this on kind of open source tool for everybody. If they need some technical or methodological aspects, they can write me, and I will be more than happy to help other destinations to calculate this carrying capacity using our model, our alter eco model.
Okay. There is also a question about the alterecotips.com.
Hi.
Yes, which is the learning portfolio.
I cannot understand the question about the operationally use.
Maybe I don't. So this is a question from Massimiliano. Maybe Massimiliano, you can explain better to Irini. What do you mean? You can intervene maybe with your audio.
Yes, thanks. Just to have the steps that about how to use it. Okay, I can make a research on the website, find a GP it can be interesting for my destination, and what are the next steps?
The next steps after the selection, the results of your, the next steps is about what you need, or about the policy that you may want to follow.
So for instance, people can, if people is interested in some best practice, they can also, there's also contacts to
yes. If you open the PDF at the end, there is a contact list, email, and everything you may need in order to get in contact for someone from who made this measure and follow it.
Okay, and do you think that have you created this platform as an open platform so people can introduce some best practices, lessons learned, or they have to contact you and they need to, I think, fill the form? What about it if someone wants to implement this?
The contact is not only me, the contact is direct to who's made each measure. Let me share my screen. Maybe we don't have some, let me share it. So if we open the measure, we can see all of the information. And at the end, here is the name of contact details of each person, of each measure.
Okay.
I hope I'm clear.
Yes, of course. Yes, thank you to
answer.
The
other question, I tried to share the Excel file, but I was not able to attach the Excel file. So if anyone wants to send it, please write the email and I will forward it direct. Okay.
There is also there was also a question by Christina. I saw that you answered in the chat box about the Excel file, if it is available or not. So just to share your comment, you say that it is not available at the web so far. Do you think to put it available, or if people are interested, they need to contact you?
To be honest, we didn't have the idea to share it, but it's a good point that we may share it at our online platform.
Yes, I think it is a good tool, however, this Excel, yes. Okay, so I just go through the chat box to see if there are any questions, but I cannot see them. I don't know if participants have any comments or want to ask something else to our experts. I see no, there's no question, no. Okay, there's no question. So I think that we can go through the end of this webinar at this point. So I thank you, both of you, to be here and to be available to speak about these interesting tools, I think. And I would like also to highlight how the carrying capacities of a destination is always important in post-COVID. As Dario told us before, it is important to see things now in another perspective. Healthy, distancing reasons, so we will need carrying capacity tools. And yes, so I thank you a lot, and I inform participants that they will receive afterward an email with a link for participating to an evaluation questionnaire about this webinar. And also, I'd like to give you the appointment with our last webinar, this Monday 6th, with the Good Practice Shared Mobility Agency in Touristic Destinations. You can register as usual to this webinar through our website. And I thank you, everybody, and attendees as well. And I give you the appointment on this Monday. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.